Is there anything you'd like to discuss, or can we go ahead? I think we should. Okay. So, in the last class, we were talking. Let me share my screen. So, in the last class, we were talking about data quality. Now, as far as data quality is concerned, there are two main issues which come. We did talk about those issues as well, but I'll just take a quick recap of that. So, outliers and missing data values. These are some common issues which may get generated with the data, right? So, missing values, I think I did show you the code of handling the missing values. I did show you the code of outliers as well, right? So, the intricacies of that code will be discussed later. So, we call that as data remediation. Data remediation. Now, in data remediation, uh, we have three options that either you remove the outliers, remove outliers. This is option one. The problem with option one is that if you remove the outliers, you miss the data. You lose some data points, which is currency of machine learning. Second is imputation. Now, imputation, you impute the value with mean or median or mode, whichever. Like, if it is categorical data, then you may use median or mode to replace the value, or not replace, impute the value, fill it with some missing value. That I did talk about that. And the third one is capping, which slightly advanced. So that can also be done. It can be done for the values which lie outside the upper and the lower whiskers, which are outliers. So we can cap them by replacing those observations below the lower limit with the value of fifth percentile. You can say those that lies above the upper limit with the value of 95 percentile. So, I mean, we can replace those values with the values which are lying inside those limits within the whiskers. The thing is that. So you can cap it with the upper and lower whisker value, and if there are outliers, you can probably bring randomly change those values with the values which are lying inside. That's not very suggestive also. In imputation, at least you are using some central tendency like mean, median, or mode. Okay, then the second thing that we this is data remediation. Okay, about handling of the outliers. How can you handle the outliers? These 3 points were about handling the outliers. Now, if we talk about handling missing values, this is also data remediation only. Missing values. So even outliers could be imputed. The thing is, imputation could be done for either even with outliers, or it can be done with missing values as well. So imputation is applicable in both. Then it also says that if there are like in the previous one, remove outliers, here also you can say remove missing values. Now the things stays the same, that if you remove the missing values you lose the data. Okay, then yeah, we did talk about it. I did show you some exhibit also. So how can we estimate the missing values? I did give you one example. Like if it is a normally distributed data like this, you can randomly pick any value which is normally distributed according to the pattern of the data. Or I mean, it's a normal distribution, it could be any other distribution also for that data, but we need to estimate that uh, distribution underlying that particular variable, or that particular variable following which kind of distribution. So that we have to also find out. Then after that is data pre-processing. So first we check the quality of the data, and this all is coming in before we start to model. Okay, so data pre-processing involves one thing is, you can say, dimensionality reduction. Dimensionality reduction. So let me tell you what is this dimensionality reduction. Just a second. I'm going to give an exhibit of a data where we would like to apply this dimension. So for a data which is having less parameters, this criteria, or you can say this dimensionality reduction, may not be an issue. But for problems which have larger data set and at the same time more number of variables, at that time we can think of doing. So I'm showing you this diabetes data. It's also not very extensive. Uh, just a second. Yeah, this looks fine. So you can see here that you see this data. Now we would like to know that, can you guess what kind of data is this? Can anyone guess what this data is representing? Wild guess. I mean, there's nothing to lose over here. Anyone? Okay, so this data is about finding out whether a given animal is a mammal or not. Okay, so you got various variables, whether it's got hairs or not, feathers, egg, does it lay eggs, does it give milk, whether it is airborne, is it aquatic, is it predator, is it toothed, does it have a vertebrae like backbone or not, whether it breathes, is it venomous, does it have fins, legs, tail, does it is it domestic, cat size, something like this. And there are four different classes, I mean not four but seven different classes. If you look at that, if I'll apply filter over here, you can see that there are seven different classes of the animals. And if I have to, let's say, what I would like to do over here is, I can pick any random animal and I'll check for that random animal whether it is having hair, feather, eggs, and all these parameters. And then from that I would like to know, predict whether it is a mammal or not. So we'll be using this data, but not right now. It is to tell you that are all the variables important over here. Now here I would like to know your opinion. Are all the variables indicated over here important to know whether it is a mammal or not? There are many variables, right? So it makes problem complicated and makes the algorithm slow. So is it not necessary? Is it necessary that we include all these variables to know it is a mammal or not? Give your opinion in yes and no. Not necessarily, Shan says. So, I mean, what is the characteristics of mammal? Some basic characteristics of mammal is that they are warm-blooded. They have backbone, and they give birth. Unlike they don't lay eggs, but they give birth. They are furred. They have furs or feathers, or you can say like that. Uh, and they also give milk. So these are some common characteristics of mammals. So we see that it's not necessary that they should be venomous or breathes even. E- Every animal is going to breathe. So I mean this is different. So because zero is also indicated over here. So it's like an aquatic animal has gills. So that's a different thing. Like fishes do not breathe. So here breathe means like uh, breathing, taking in air like that, not extracting it from the water or something like this. Okay, so we can see here that not all the variables are important. So that's what the dimensionality reduction over here means, that there are many dimensions to this problem, but what are relevant and what are not relevant, it might not be easy to find out all the time, or even the relevance which have higher impact on the selection or on the choice of your class. Okay, so in the dimensionality reduction, we would like to reduce the dimensionality of the data, or reduce the uh, simply means reduce the number of variables or dimensions. Uh, so in order to achieve this, we have principal component analysis approach. It is one of the most common approach. I mean, it is also an unsupervised learning type of problem. So I'm not going to solve it right or even talk about it right now as such. I will talk about it in the end. But since it is part of uh, data pre-processing, at times it may also be used for data dimensionality reduction, besides doing the main machine learning um, problem of finding out the underlying dimensions or factors, we say. So it works on correlation of the variables. So the working of principal component analysis we'll discuss again at the later point of time. But for now, you can say that it tries to correlate the variables, and the variables with high correlation are grouped together, and they are probably uh, they are considered as a one factor, and these factors are orthogonal to each other. I mean, orthogonal to each other means that they are uncorrelated. The factors or the main components which are found, those components are more or less uncorrelated with each other. Okay, so I'll just try to explain it in a better way. So let's say V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. and V6. These are the variables. So what principal component analysis will do is it will group these variables, let's say as one. I mean, V1 and V2 have high correlation with each other. V2, V4, V3, V4, and V5 have again high correlation with each other, and V6 is not having correlation with, I mean, less correlation or not significant correlation with other variables. So we can get three P1, P2, and P3 as three different principal components. Okay, and these P1, P2, P3, they are more or less independent of each other. Getting it? So that's why we say they are orthogonal to each other. Uh, so like V1 and V2, they capture they capture the variability for each other. They co-vary. So similarly, V3, V4, and V5, they again co-vary with each other, and this is how the model is made actually for principal component analysis. So the detail of it we'll talk about later, but with this approach you can actually reduce the number of variables. So together these two variables could be termed as one. Okay, and how does it work, we'll see that later. And then there is a feature selection problem also. So I did talk about feature selection and feature extraction earlier itself. So feature selection is more related with the redundancy of the data. I mean, if two variables are representing more or less same thing. So let's see in this particular database, do we have any such variable which are exhibiting the same thing? Let's see that. So hair and feather, are they redundant in any way? Even, I mean, is anyone, can I replace hair with feather? No, I don't think so. Or feather with hair, either way. So milk, airborne, aquatic, predator, toothed. So backbone, breeds, venomous, fins, leg and tail. So do you find domestic cat size? So do you find any variables which are duplicated over here with respect to each other? I don't see. All the variables hold their significantly different meaning from each other, and we don't see that happening in this particular database, because this is anyway a standard database and has been used in many places, so you won't find much change over here. Besides that, you can also see that there are no, it's all represented in numbers. So this is also a data sort of pre-processing only, where we have to convert even strings into numbers, because these algorithms, they actually would require you to have uh, number data which is quantitative. So even though these are categorical variables, most of them, almost all of them are categorical variables except legs, you can say, and a tail, and all are binary variables, you can see over here. So I don't think that of course you can do some coding, and you can create some exceptions and work on the work on the data which is not numerical, represented numerically, but then it is always advisable to convert your data as much as possible into numeric form. Okay, so you can see that, okay, we've done this found, we've done this later, and this imputation we have done for missing values, right? Yeah, so this also I had exhibited that day. We have also worked on this code where we were finding out the outlier, and exploration of the data also we have done. So I'm just checking if we have lost, if we have forgot anything which we have not done in the starting with the modeling. And in this as well we have done almost all the type of plots. Just let me have an exploration. Normalizing the data. Okay. So here, now let's say we have an iris data set like this. Uh, okay. So what do we see over here is that you have this. These are several characteristics of an iris, a flower. So there are different types of flower species, we can say. I'll just put a filter on it and we'll get to know. So this is a very iris data set is a very standard data set used in machine learning. So you can say here that there are three species of flowers which we are talking about: Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. So these are three different type of species of flowers we are talking about. Now these species have different sepal length, sepal width. You can see these are the variables: sepal length, sepal width, and petal length and petal width. So let me show you about this. What is the meaning of this data set? Just a second. I'll show you a photograph. So just a second. So you can see here that these are similar looking species. Okay, and you can see here that these are similar looking species. So this is sepal and this is petal. Okay, so and they have different. You can see that largely they look same, but they have width is different for each of these species. And this is Setosa, this is Virginica, and this is versicolor. Okay, so sepal length, sepal width, petal width. That is going to decide that which species this particular flower is. Okay, now the problem over here is that these this is on a scale. You can see over here that it lies, the range is somewhere between 4 to 5. Here the range is between 3 to 4 or something like that. Here the range is between 1 to 2 for petal length and petal width. So you can see they are varying on the scale. Now when we apply the algorithms, it tends to approximate a lot. Now the problems with the approximation you've already seen, and with the marks when the approximation is done, it creates a lot of confusion. You know that, all of you. So similar thing happens with, now what will happen is if it approximates to, see, point 1 and point 2 over here, not much difference if you compare it with the scale of sepal length, right? So we need to normalize the data. Okay, so for that purpose, uh, let's say I use this iris data set. Okay, and I try to normalize the data. So if I print the normalized data, you can see here now, after normalization, I'll undock it. After normalization, your data values are in similar range. Now when the data comes in similar range, the problems with the approximation or the inaccuracies which are created because of the approximation, they vanish to a larger extent. Okay, so that's why we offer in the data pre-processing, it is also advised to do normalization. Now how this has been done is sklearn has been used over here, and the package like pre-processing, and I mean the functions are pre-processing and load. This is loading iris dataset, because it is with the iris dataset comes with the uh, Jupyter, comes with the Python embedded in the Python. So you don't have to actually import it from external directory, but it is already available in the Python directory. And we load this data, and simply we specify that which variable iris dataset and this target. This is a standard way of separating the attributes, and we normalize the data. So Amit is going to explain it later. Then after that, we can do plotting also. This we've already done this, so not yet. So removing the and the standardization. So there's a difference between standardization and normalization. In the normalization, we map all the values of the variables in a given range. Like in the previous one, the values were mapped in a certain range over here. They were in range of 0 to 1. While in standardization, what do we do is it is no, I think you have not read about standard normal distribution, where the idea is to bring uh, you can say in it in a way that if data is very much spread across, so you can imagine that I have stretched the rubber band to 1 meter. A rubber band I have stretched to 1 meter. Now rather than spreading it to 1 meter, I reduce the length of the rubber band by relaxing it. I'm not bringing the rubber band to the zero position, but rather than 1 meter, I'm bringing it to zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.9 meter. It is to bring your outliers closer to your other values. It may look like you are trying to reduce the variation, although it does not directly reduce the variation, but in a sense, it reduces the size of the picture. Okay, it makes your data lighter in a way. So standardization is also a kind of pre-processing, but it is not very commonly used. But normalization is generally used where you see the ranges of the variables, different variables, it varies. We can also see some other data set where we might find that this kind of range is varying a lot. So let me take another Challenger data set. Okay. So we see over here, this is Challenger data set. Challenger. You know what is Challenger? Yes. Anyone? Challenger. So it's a space shuttle disaster which happened in 1986. It is a data set of that NASA's data set. So it was found that it failed because of O-ring. There is certain O-ring which is there in the aircraft, and you can read the history of this also. Now you see over here that temperature and pressure, they are on different scales. Okay, so we will also explore this data in regression when we'll be. Tomorrow we'll be starting with regression. There we will talk about it. So yeah, you can see here that again we see temperature and pressure are in different range. 200, and although it's not very significantly different, but it was very different in the iris data set. So we may go for normalization in such situations. We will talk about it when we take some problems. But then these are main aspects of the data pre-processing which we have to do. Now, from tomorrow, I'll be starting with linear regression. So Amit will be taking care of the coding part now. Amit, you're there,
Yes, sir.
so you can take
Yes.
over now.
Okay, sir. So everybody got yesterday's assignment done. Any problem with yesterday's assignment?
हाँ नो हाँ बताओ.
Anyone had any problem with yesterday's
एक
assignment?
मिनट देख रहा हूँ. अभी भी think-
Yes, no, or have you even tried it or not? Okay, so we'll just move on to the next tutorial. So today we'll learn something about data imputation and normalization. Okay, so what is data imputation? Whenever there are some, in short, imputation is some kind of manipulation, right, in the data. Say some data is missing, some entries are missing in your data set. Okay, so per se, you are recording the data set from an engine. Okay, and you are collecting the vibration data. Okay, so for some minor error in your software, you couldn't collect the data for like say 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, so what will happen, what are the options you have for such problem? Because you'll see that uh, whenever there is something that you want to say express about your data set, you just need to assume that you want to calculate the mean of your data set, right? So if some changes are there in your data, then it will definitely affect your mean, right? Mean of your data. So let's say there are some values are missing in your data set, then it will definitely affect the mean of your data set, right? Yes or no? So we'll assume yes, right? It will affect the data set. So in such case, there are two options. Mainly two options are there. Either you can remove the data set for the entries which are missing, right, and just move on with your remaining data, right? And other thing that you can do is you can replace the data with mean of your data set or median of your data set. So in such case, in this case, so there will be not much effect on the mean of your data set, right? Or per se any other uh, any other thing, right? So if you are just replacing your missing entries with the mean value or say zero value or any other value of your choice, then be careful that it will not affect your data in a uh, harmful way, right? So that will be covered in this missing data imputation tutorial today. So yesterday we talked about the pandas, numpy, math, statistics, scipy.stats, matplotlib, pyplot, right? So these are the libraries. Generally, these are the libraries that you need to import most of the time or say frequently. Okay, so we'll import the libraries first, then we'll today we'll also work on the yesterday's data set, right? Auto mpg. So we'll import the data set auto mpg, right? Then the next thing we want to say first check out the data set. So that is vs.head. So this is how your data will look. Okay, so there are mpg, cylinder, displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, model, in year, origin, and car name. So these are the entries variables for in your data set, right? Let's say you are calculating mean. So first we'll check whether there is any null value. Null value, right? Null value means anything that is missing in the DS data set and horsepower variable, right? So this is what you need to check first. So you are checking that whether there are missing values in this variable or not. Okay. So uh, the yes or no answer has been assigned to a1 variable, and when we call the variable, you will see that false for
Amit, your
uh,
screen is not visible.
okay. So nobody even tell me.
Are you guys there or not?
I
How many of
think
you are
nobody is
there?
there, sir.
How many of you are actually listening to the lecture? Say yes if you are listening. Otherwise, we may conclude. They are there. Two, three, four. Okay, they are there. You can continue.
Why didn't you anybody tell me about this screen? The screen was not visible, right? Is it visible now? Okay. So we'll start from the beginning. Okay. Okay then. So we'll learn about data imputation. First we'll import the libraries. Okay, then we'll read the data set, import the data set in the current system, right? Then we'll check, look at the data set, how it looks like. So first MPG is there, cylinder, displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, and origin and car name. So these are the variables that are there in our data set, auto MPG. Okay, now next. Uh, np dot mean, so this will do later. So first we need to check, say, for horsepower you can take any variable for here, but we are doing it going on with the horsepower variable, right? So from the data set ds, so that has been assigned here, right? So ds has auto mpg has been assigned to ds variable. From the ds data set we are checking whether horsepower variable is having any null value or missing values or not. Okay, so yes or no values in here that has been assigned to a1 variable. When we call the a1 variable, you'll see that there are boolean yes or no answer is there, right? So false mean, so zeroth element is there, right? So there is no missing value. So okay, so this false is for whether there is a missing value. Okay, so for the first four entries there is no missing value from the 393 to 397. Last five entries also are there. Okay, so you'll see that when large data set is there, so this will be represented in this manner. Okay, now next, we have checked on which points the values are missing or not. So, okay, so this ds horsepower is null, that this will give us the answer in this manner, right? So this output has been assigned in ds square bracket, right? So that will go on as in a series. So let's say for first element of ds, whether the missing value, the false value is there or not. Okay, so this will be a string of out answers, right? So first entry says 0, it will check like this. Okay, this is our ds data set. It will check whether for horsepower the value is false or not. If the value for horsepower is in here is false, then it will take this entry. Okay, so this it will take this entry, right? Because it is false. So, okay, sorry. If the missing values are there, then it will be a true value, okay, for horsepower, and that will be taken in the variable called imputed rows. Okay, so whenever there is true values in this square bracket, so for that row will be called and assigned to imputed rows. So if we just run this, you will see that we can see this type of output. So you will see that for horsepower there is nn value. Nn means not available, right? There is no value, missing value. So for 30 second uh, row there is missing value in horsepower. So this will check only for horsepower because we have specified as this. Then 126 row is having missing value, and these are six rows that are having missing values for horsepower variable. Okay, so we have found out that these are the missing values. Now next, uh, what to do with these missing values, right? So next we'll impute the missing values with mean value, right? For now we are doing it with replacing the missing value with mean. You can check out the other options also and replace it there. Okay, so can you guys take a break and start this code? Okay, you guys need to try it on your own, and we'll see the output. Yes, we will take a 5 minute break here. You guys need to perform execute the code in your system. Okay, then and then we'll move forward. Otherwise, today's lecture is done because I don't think you are continuously there. Okay, so this is the code. You guys need to run it in your system. First import these libraries and then run the code. Find out the missing values for acceleration value variable. I will wait for 5 minutes. Okay, so this code is not lengthy, so it will be done in 5 minutes. If not done, then we can end this lecture right now.
Amit, are we concluding right now?
No, sir, just giving them a short assignment,
Okay, okay,
just the missing values because there will be few variation with this.
okay.
Okay, Tina, Shreyash, and Teen, you guys can share your screen. Okay, so you are having problem with that replace thing, right? Okay, okay, we'll solve that issue. Nitin, you can share your screen. Yes, because we have not defined the score mean, right? We'll see that. Nitin, share your screen. Okay, okay. So you had that HP underscore mean, right? Okay, okay. Tina, share your screen. Tina, okay. Then I think we can move on. Uh, okay, no problem. Okay then, Shreyas, you are having this error, right? So HP underscore mean, because you'll see that in this code, what is being executed. So imputed rows are being replaced. Okay, where NP, sorry, missing values are there. Those values are being replaced with this variable, right? So first we need to define this variable or specify this variable, so that we can do with uh, where did it go? This one. So in here, what we have done, np dot mean, that is for taking out the average. Okay, and average of what? Horsepower variable in DS dataset, right? So this will give you average value of horsepower variable. So that will be like the column will be the sum of the column will be there and divided by the number of entries. That is, I guess, 398 values are there. Okay, and then at this year the average value has been counted, and that missing value has been replaced with this HP mean variable. Okay, so variable has been generated in here, and that imputed row is okay. I need to run this first. Okay, now if I just run this, you will see that the horsepower in this imputed rows has been assigned new values. Okay, so this imputed row is this variable, right? For whatever we had calculated here, right? That whatever wherever the horsepower variable is having missing values, those values, those rows will be assigned to imputed rows, and in here imputed rows are replaced with HP mean value. So this will give you the mean imputation for your data. If you just recall the imputed rows for horsepower, so this is the value of our mean, right? So horsepower variable having mean value of 104.469. Okay, now next, uh, what we can do in here, let's say we want to change or replace the value with a value of our own choice, right? So first we'll compute the variable, right? First we'll identify on what rows the horsepower DS data set is having missing value for horsepower variable, right? So that has been now it has been replaced with 324. Now if you just run this, you will see that the horsepower values are replaced with 324. Now there are other imputation functions that you can use. Okay, so that being the mean that we used. Okay, so then other than that there is median, then most frequent, whatever value has been consistent, more frequently occurring in your data, that will be replaced. The missing values will be replaced with that value, right? And then constant, the constant that we have done earlier, right? So whenever you are trying to use some variation in your simple commands, that you can just uh, search those on Sky sklearn library, right? So in sklearn library, there is simple imputer command or function that we have imported in here, right? So there is one command in here. Okay, I guess I showed you the it earlier. Okay, so first so this was the basic thing that we'll use with multiple commands, that we first find the missing values, then replace those with value of our choice being the mean and constant values. Okay, so next we can do that, we can use a library. Okay, so this whole imputation thing has been coded or provided the code by someone and stored it in the sklearn library, so we can directly use the library and import the simple imputer command. Okay, so the syntax for that function or command, you can say, is like this. So simple imputer has been assigned here. Okay, the command has been used, and strategy that we are using is mean. Okay, instead of mean, we can use this other strategies that are mean, median, most frequent, and constant. Okay, so that you can use according to your choice. Okay, and next, okay, so we have defined the strategy into the imputer variable. Now next we will identify for which uh, value there are missing values, and those values are to be replaced with mean values. Okay, so in here we have done some pre-processing, you can say. The car name has been dropped from our variable data set. Okay, so we had this data set and the car name was there. We need to perform this or pre-process our data set in such way, because whenever the simple imputer command will run, it will take all the variables, or you can say all the columns, check for missing values, and when it will find this categorical type of variable, then it will get confused. So first we need to drop this categorical variable. Okay, so that we can use the ds dot drop command. Okay, so this is how we will do it. Axis 1 in is for column. Okay, then which variable you want to drop, that will be written in here, and from what data set you want to drop the things. Okay, so this is how we will drop the car name variable in column of car name variable. Okay, so that you can do with this command, and it has been assigned to new data set. So now if we just run this and call the new data, yes, you can see that the new data set having the variables all the same, but the car name is not there. Okay, so there are, I guess, 7 8 total 9 variables are there in our original data set, but the ninth one, the car name has been dropped. Okay, so this is how your new data set will look. Now imputer dot fit. Now, what is this imputer? So this imputer has been assigned or specified by us in this cell. So that is simple imputer dot strategy as mean. So this whole command, we why we have done this command has been assigned to the variable, so that we don't need to write each and every time the whole lengthy command, right? So this one is shorter, but you'll see that when there are lengthier codes or commands that you need to execute, so you can do one thing, that assign the syntax to a variable and then use that variable. Okay, so the imputer dot fit, this will, the imputer function, or you can say command, okay, that will be performed or executed on the new data set. It will run on that data set and pre-process it, process it. And okay, now once it is done, we'll so this is just a thing that will run on background backend, right? So this will just fit the model on your data set, and then this imputer dot transform, so it know this command knows what it has to do, but it will not perform or change the variables.
Amit,
But
can you explain meaning of fit over here? Can you? I mean, they must not know.
fit will be like say this is a simple command, right? Strategy mean, so you are trying to fit it. Let's say how do you fit, let's say you are going to a tailor, and you need to make a dress from him, right? He is making a dress for you, so first he will take the measurements, right? So that is kind of a processing on your according to your measurements, right? The processing will be there, but the dress is not yet ready. So you can understand in it in this manner, that the command will take all the measurements or processing for your data set from the imputer dot fit, but it will not change anything on the data set, right? So there will be no variables added to your memory, right? In this imputer dot transform, until and unless you perform this command, there will be no difference in the system, right? It has just taken the measurement, it has not done anything, right? Once you execute this command, then and then new variables will be generated, and the missing values will be assigned to something like that, right? So I hope it is clear now, right? So in here, imputed dot transform, it has uh, transformed the new data set. Okay, it has taken the entries of missing value from this data set and assigned to new data set, uh, that is new ts trans. Okay, so this is our new data set. If we just convert it into data frame and run this, you will see it like this. Okay, okay, so in here we have executed the command. We can call the data set and it will look something like this. Okay, so if you just look at this 18, 15, I guess most of the entries are similar in here because no missing values are there in between. Now if I just add the variable in here, now you can see that we are adding the car name again to the new data set, so that it will look familiar to the our original data set. Okay, so if I just run this, a new data will be uh, new data will look something like this. So from the data set, okay, we have performed it on. Okay, so there are missing values for 32, right? If I just look at here, so in this data set there are missing values for 32nd row of horsepower variable, right? So if I just print this out to see whether there are some changes or not, because if you just call it here, you won't see anything else, you won't see any difference in here. So we are just calling the entry that we know. is missing in our data set. So from the DS data set, we are calling the 32nd row, and you will see that there are the values are like this. Now you'll see that for horsepower, the original data was having this missing value, okay, on the 32nd row. Now if we just run this, so DS1, so this DS1 is our new data set, right, that has been computed or generated from this imputer.fit imputer.transform commands. Okay, so this is our new data set that has performed the mean imputation on our data set whenever there are missing values. So if we just run this DS1 and 32nd column, so you will see that so first, second, third, and fourth variable was our horsepower. So there is this missing value has been assigned 104 after 98 and 2046. There is one missing value was there in our original data set, but in here after the imputation the variable has been changed, right? Got it? So this is it. This is how you do the imputation. So first we learn the basic command or basic operations that we need to perform to call the missing values and replace it with some strategy. And the second one is we are using the inbuilt library, that is sklearn library, okay, to perform the or execute the imputation operation on our missing values. Okay, so we'll again take 10 minutes break. You guys can perform this, execute this code in the similar way that we had used earlier. Okay. I think the data set is having missing values on only for that horsepower value variable. So you can use that only. You can complete your code with in